Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beer Man's No Bull Beer Reviews. Today I have another beer from Amor Artis Brewing Company out of um, Fort Mill, South Carolina. This beer is their Belgian Wit, but this is a barrel aged version. It's just called Like a Fine Red Wine. They have another one that's called Like a Fine White Wine, which I've tried before. I have not had this one before. It says the fourth in our wine barrel aged series. Uh, oh, That's weird. It says the fourth in our Like a Fine Wine series. Oh, never mind. Featuring our wine barrel aged Belgian program, classic Belgian wit brewed with coriander, orange peel, and chamomile before spending 8 months in Cabernet Sauvignon barrels. And it is 6.5 ABV. I really liked the white wine one that I had, and they didn't have any bottles of that, but they had the red wine one, and they also didn't have this one on tap, so it made sense for me to just buy a bottle of it. Um, it's interesting because I don't love wine that much to begin with, um, but usually I like sours or like American wild ales and white wine barrels better. But like Belgian-y, so not like the traditional saisons, but like this, like a Belgian wit or like a quad or a double, those types of things, I think are better in red wine barrels. So I'm hoping that's the case with this. We'll see. So that pour is kind of concerning because it's I mean you can see it didn't really have much carbonation at all. Um, but let's say it's a cloudy, darker straw to golden color with a little edge of white head, but not really much. It smells pretty good. A lot of big, like buttery, and I don't mean diacetyl, but like that buttery, oaky character from the barrel. There's a little bit of minerality. um, and light cheesy funk too. It's very oaky. It does have a cheesy character. It also I'm getting the chamomile for sure too. But really, what's kind of I don't want to say ruining it because I still think it's a pretty good beer. Um, but the thing that's dragging it down for me is the fact that it's pretty undercarbonated. Um, and I think, from what I understand, they had issues with carbonation for the first couple of their bottled beers because they just released a cherry sour, but supposedly it was one of the first like sour beers that they brewed, and they just kept waiting and waiting and waiting for it to carbonate, to bottle condition carbonate, and it just never did. Um, and then they had to make the decision. Well, do we just dump these bottles? What should we do? Uh, so what they did, and I have no problem with this because they completely set it up front. They sold it, but they told everyone like, "Hey, this is very low carbonated, but we think flavor wise, it's really good. So we wanted to share it with everybody, but we're just telling you up front, the carbonation level was pretty low." So I had no problem with that as long as they're forthright about it at the beginning and they know that that's what it is and they tell you up front, then I don't have a problem with them selling it because it actually was a pretty tasty beer. But again, it was pretty undercarbonated, and this is kind of the same way. There is a little bit of that. What I like in it, for whatever reason, I say it's like a feedy character that I get from red wine versus white wine. White wine to me is definitely more floral, um, just like fruity, and red wine. I mean, I think it's the case with most people, but red wine is, it's dry usually. Um, but there's something about it that's like cheesy and feedy, and I'm getting that in this. Like parts, I said it was cheesy before, but I feel like part of that is from the yeast character, and part of that is from the barrel. But I would say if someone, yeah, it's like right up front, I would say it's generally something from the yeast slash bacteria. But then after the swallow, it's more prevalent that it's something in the barrel, and it really does have a red wine character. You know, I will say too, this has some funk to it, but it's really not very tart at all. Which, you know, I don't necessarily say that it would need to be. I was expecting it to be, but because I think the red wine or the white wine one was a little bit more tart than this. Um, but if you have a really nice classic Belgian wit and you just throw it in a barrel and have some nice like wine notes and oaky bready, but it doesn't have to be um, like a true American wild ale. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm just saying I expected it to be a little bit more. But the smell on this is great, and the flavor really does follow the smell. It's just there's nothing effervescent about it at all. That's like really bolstering that flavor. It's just such a shame that this is so undercarbonated, because if it was appropriately carbonated, I think I would really really like this. Some beers, low carbonation isn't that big of a deal. Other ones, it is a big deal. Like with barley wines and stouts, I don't want to say I don't care. I don't want it to be completely flat, but I don't care if it's lower carbonation. But um, saisons, American wild ales, any type of Belgian beers, or even like IPAs or pilsners for sure for that realm, like they have to be appropriately carbonated. If they're not, then they're just the flavor is just not. With stouts and barley wines, it's so rich in flavor to begin with that it doesn't have to be carbonated. It doesn't need that bolster. But like with IPAs, if it's undercarbonated, the aroma is so muted. Um, and that's really kind of the case with wild ales too. It is such a shame because seriously, the more I drink this, every sip, it's just getting better and better. It's a very nice beer. But it just it falls flat in the end. It's kind of unfortunate. Um, I would, if this was appropriately carbonated, I would probably buy another bottle of it to share with people out of town. But I just, if I open this to share, people will drink it and be like, "Oh yeah, it kind of tastes good, but it's flat as fuck." Sorry, flat as heck. Um, and I would get that. So there's really not a reason for me to buy it again, which is unfortunate because it does taste good. Um, so on that note, on my scale of buy, drink, dump, I'm just gonna give this a drink. It tastes really good. I think they did a very good job with it in general, but the carbonation level was just off, and it doesn't. I can get other things similar to this that's appropriately carbonated that I would enjoy more. So that's kind of why I'm just giving it a drink. Um, but I would like to see them do this again and try to tweak it and bolster that carbonation. And I think it'd be a very very good beer. So I think that's all I got on this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to doing the next one. Thanks.